Alright, so I'm making this video in 2020, and as of this year, Finland has ranked #1 in the world yet again for the third time running in the UN's annual happiness report. So I will link the actual report in the description box if you want to go and have a read of the whole report and get more detailed information on it. But just briefly, what exactly is it that we are ranked #1 again in? So they got this information from a World Gallup poll, which polled participants in 153 countries, averaging about 1,000 participants per country. Then these results were averaged, and these average results were then ranked based on score. And then that's how they got the happiness ranking, where Finland has ranked #1 in. This year, they also ranked cities, so cities across the world. Which city happens to be the happiest city? Well, guess what city was the happiest in the 2020 report? Well, that is the capital of Finland, so Helsinki. So in my previous video, I had asked what topics people would like me to discuss on this channel, and a few comments had asked me to delve into this happiness report a bit more. Why is Finland the happiest country in the world? What are we doing here that makes people happy? Or people just want to hear, I guess, our take on this. And I can tell you it is a bit of a interesting topic because I think a lot of Finnish people don't quite believe it either. There's a million memes floating around online about it, and I'll kind of sprinkle them in here throughout this video so you can see what I'm talking about. And I actually contacted 8 of my relatives and friends that are Finnish to ask what their opinion on this is, so you won't only hear what I think, but also a handful of other Finnish people, so that you can get a more well-rounded perspective on perhaps what us Finnish people think about this situation. I think the running theme of what Finnish people overall think when we just hear it is, really? We Finnish people are the happiest in the world? If Finland's the happiest country in the world, then other places must really suck because we don't think we're all that happy. But anyways, so I think if you Google this and kind of read some news articles relating to this topic, a lot of outlets will sort of explain why Finland is #1 based on the wealth. We are a fairly well-off country. You know, everyone that lives here does pretty well for themselves. Everyone's kind of on a fairly even playing field. No one is, you know, extremely poor. We're not a third world country. We're not a poor country. So obviously, citizens having money plays a part in getting all your basic needs met, which helps with your overall happiness in life. So that is one thing that news outlets keep mentioning. And another one is that we are Nordic countries in general, especially Finland, is a pretty homogenous country. So everyone that lives here, vast majority of the people that live here are Finnish. We have the same kind of background, same lifestyle, I guess. And I suppose that kind of links into that a lot of Finnish people have the same beliefs and the same values, I guess. So if all of our beliefs and values are similar, then it's easier to kind of please everyone in a country. If your country's run in a certain way, everyone kind of has similar values, more or less. It's easier to, you know, have everyone be happy with how things are going or how things are run. And another reoccurring theme that I kept seeing in news articles and stuff is that the trust in not only each other and other Finnish people is very high, but also trust in government is high. And in particular, the trust in the president is extremely high, and also trust in the police is very high. They had an article in 2018 kind of showing if general trust in various different areas has gone up, down, or stayed the same in 2018. It is in Finnish, but I guess you can Google translate some of the words and stuff, but you can kind of get a general idea of where the trust level is at, if it's going up or down, or how much people here tend to trust various aspects in Finland. So I think all of those put together already is a very strong basis for, you know, a good quality of life. And just to chime in on that last point, as someone who has a degree in psychology, I can say that I think the trust thing is very important, because in our biology, at the core of things, we are, you know, tribe animals, or we are, how would you say? We need other people to have good mental health, and we need like that core group of people to feel safe, I guess. So if people in Finland tend to have a general trust in not only their neighbors and people they know, but also strangers and other Finnish people, and not only other Finnish people, but also, you know, people who govern them, like the government and the president and the police, like people who are like in charge. If we have a general trust in our society, that is going to, you know, bolster your own security and your own mental well-being, because you know you're kind of in a good, secure situation. And it feeds into our need for connection and connecting with other people. And although Finnish people aren't the most outgoing and social, if you have that general trust in others, I think that also kind of helps feed that level of connection. And wasn't there that study that was done some years ago? I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it, the wallet study. I can try and find something to link it in the description as well, where was it 12 wallets were left in various areas of a city, or they had like a couple of different cities and they left wallets around to see how many would get returned. And I think Helsinki, wasn't it the number one, where 11 out of 10 wallets got returned? So those were the points made by various news outlets and different media in trying to explain perhaps why Finland has ranked number one. So I guess I'll first go over what I personally think, and then I'll go into people I know. So the prompt for the Gallup question or Gallup poll was something along the lines of, I think the general idea of it was, imagine there's a ladder, you know, a ladder with rings on it. You know, ladders have steps, and the top of the ladder, like the top ring, is the absolute best life you can imagine for yourself, and the lowest ring on the ladder is the absolute worst life you can imagine for yourself. And then place yourself on that ladder. How high or how low would you rank your life right now? So I think that is kind of what they were measuring happiness from. Obviously, happiness is I would say it's a very difficult concept to measure scientifically. It is a booming, you know, psychological field right now, and there's a lot of studies going into how to measure happiness and how, like, what are the different key aspects that makes people happy. But when you think of happiness, sometimes the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, expressions of happiness, like smiling, laughter, joy, like outwardly expressed joy, which Finland has very little of. If you walk down the street, nobody's smiling. If you try and say hi to people, people think you're weird. If you sit on the bus and you smile to the person next to you, they're gonna think it's a little bit creepy. When you walk down the street, even in your own neighborhood, when you pass by people, you know, everyone will avoid your eye contact. So just from that, people might be like, well, that doesn't seem like people are very happy. That seems like a very depressing place to be in. But I guess what we are measuring here is more life satisfaction. And are you happy with your life how it is? Not necessarily outward expressions of joy and happiness, which I'm sure other countries have abundance of, and bucketfuls more than Finland. Finland probably ranks very low in that category. But I would agree with the statement that I think life satisfaction in Finland is very high, and people in general are fairly content with their life. So moving on to how my friends answered this question. So I asked my friends, why do you think Finnish people were, again, the happiest in the world? And these are some of their replies. So one of them said, The only reason that they can think of is because Finnish people are good at being content with what we have. If you look at houses, cars, etc., they don't tend to be big and flashy. We're happy with simple lives and you can live like that here. And that was her answer to this. So to expand on that a little bit more, I think it's quite true. As I said, there isn't a large income disparity, is that what it's called, in Finland? So there isn't extreme richness and like extreme poverty. Like the gap isn't that wide. So things are kind of, squished towards the average middle. So everyone kind of is in the same social class. Of course, there's differences to some extent, but it's not as extreme, let's say. So there's not people with like huge mansions and these flashy cars, driving around everywhere. And people in general are content with that. I think people, have their summer cabins that they have and they go to, and people in general are quite happy with a more simplistic lifestyle. So I guess that could be one possible explanation. And then another friend of mine threw in a popular joke in Finland. Now, keep in mind, Finnish people tend to have a very dark sense of humor. You'll see that theme reoccurring in Finnish films, Finnish songs, Finnish books. Finnish people have very dark humor, so please don't take offense to this. But yeah, she just threw a joke like that. And obviously that meme comes from, being rated the happiest country in the world, but also our suicide rates are fairly high at the same time. So what's that about? Okay, and then another response I got was that the trust in government is high. We have good access to everything like healthcare, education, and people are quite educated. Trust in other people is high, and money is good for most people. So that was another perspective. Another perspective I got was because we have a better connection to nature, see more of it, and are more sporty. I do think that's an important point to mention. There is this book called, what was it called? Lost Connections by Johan Hari, which is a really good read. I do recommend it. It basically outlines, was it 8? Basically, it's about this guy who has been struggling with depression and he wants to find out the root cause of it and to see what aspects of modern life and modern society contribute to this increase in anxiety and depression that we are experiencing in the world right now. So I think one whole chapter was dedicated to the loss of connection with nature. Urban life kind of takes away from the connection that we used to have with nature, and that's very important for our inner well-being and our inner biology, who kind of craves that natural connection. And luckily in Finland we have a lot of greenery. There's nature everywhere. You're never too far away from parks or forests or just greenery in general. Even if you live in the center of Helsinki, you are not far away from nature. There are plenty of parks. You drive, I don't know, 15-20 minutes from wherever you are, I'm sure you'll find a forest somewhere. There's, the sea, there's even Seurasaari, that's kind of like a forest, isn't it? So, I mean, no matter where you are in Finland, either you are kind of in the forest or you're really not far away from it. So I think that point is definitely a good valid point to mention. Okay, and these points come from people that are 70 plus years old, so I had 2 answers from that age group for a bit more perspective. So this person said that that's a very difficult question, and she said that what she thinks is one of the reasons is equality. So especially if women have a really good position in society compared to a lot of other countries. She also said good education and a good schooling system where everyone has an opportunity or an equal opportunity to, access good schooling facilities and to get a good education for yourself. And then she also mentioned a good and equal healthcare system. And then the other person said, he said that trust in the government was the first thing that came to his mind. You know, the government, politicians, and president, these sorts of people, the trust is fairly high. Then he also said that people are treated equally. So in regards to, for example, taxes, how the police treats people, what is it called? Like, sorry, I'm translating this as I go from Finnish. Courts, sorry, I had to use Google Translate there for a second. Courts. So how the courts treat people, etc. They don't look at a person's, you know, societal ranking or their ranking in society. He also mentions that laws are upkept. Sorry, translating on the spot is harder than I realized. Laws are followed, so people follow the law. That's what he also said, and that people know about tax money. So for example, everyone knows where tax money, the money you pay for tax, people know exactly what it's being used on and spent on. So there's no like ambiguity, because we do have quite high taxation rates. So there's not an ambiguity about where that money is going to. People know exactly where that money is being funneled into. So that was his take on the reason why. And I think, you know, those are good points. If you do have a high trust in your government and the people running your country, you believe that what they're doing is good and they're, you know, trying their best to achieve a good society for the people living in your country, you know, obviously you're going to believe in the laws that you have, you're going to follow the laws, and there's going to be, you know, the society's going to run smoothly. And I think people in general enjoy, you know, when society runs smoothly instead of chaos being everywhere. Okay, and then the last perspective is again from someone more my age. They said that the first thing that came to their mind was that there's not a lot of stress relating to work-life balance. There's not a lot of stress about safety. There's not a lot of stress about childcare. And these sorts of things kind of build a general security and safety in your life. And then she said, even though Finnish people are depressing, despite this great system in place, and for example, she's drawing on other cultures she has experienced that maybe these people seem happier, but the conditions in Finland put in place tend to evoke happiness, and it's not a result of just people being happy themselves, but the system in place is there that, and it kind of evokes happiness within. I think that's what she was trying to say. And her last point was relating back to the more simplistic, I guess, lifestyle that Finnish people tend to have or aspire towards. She said that if you have too much, you tend to become greedy and you'll never be happy, or you'll never be happy with what you have in your life. And in Finland, she doesn't feel like there is that much of that, you know, constant hamster wheel of having to have more. People can be quite content with what they already have. All right, so that in general is a very difficult topic to dissect. I mean, there are a million different factors that could contribute here. And as a conclusion, I would just like to ask you guys where you all are from and where your country ranks on the happiness scale. If you don't know where it is, again, you can check from the UN happiness report that I linked in the description box. Let me know where you guys rank and why do you think you rank where you rank? I think it would be very interesting because I know there's tons of people from all over the world that watch my videos. I think it would be very interesting to get, you know, a more globalized perspective on why you think you rank where you do. And if you are Finnish or have experienced Finnish culture, let me know what your opinion is on why you think that Finland ranks #1 for the 3rd time yet again. I would love to hear your thoughts on it and if they're different from mine. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this video would be very curious to read through the comments and see what you think as well. So let's have a discussion in the comments below. And that was just about it. So thank you so much for watching. And I guess that just about concludes this video. So till next time.